Hey bro, I got the costume for the Iriali skit.
Oh sick, what'd you get?
Just a loincloth and some gold face paint.
No. No, can't do that.
Why not?
No.
Sule! Could one religion explain the ending of the entire Cosmere? Today, I want to talk about some background characters that never really seem to hit the spotlight, but surely have many great secrets to hide. That's right, we are discussing the Iriali. If you want to come with us to the next land, make sure to subscribe. Today, there's going to be minor spoilers for the Stormlight Archive, Tress of the Emerald Sea, and Mistborn Era 2. If you don't care or are Cosmere aware, then let's dive in. The vast majority of our information on the Iriali comes from the Stormlight Archive. There, they live in Erie, and tend to be pretty easygoing. They aren't as prudish as the Vorin, but they're more prudish than the Reshi. They have metallic gold skin and hair that breathes true. And yellow eyes. Brandon has even confirmed that their ancestry would not be considered human by most circles. Let's put a pin in that thought and move on to their beliefs. The basis of the Iriali religion is the god they call One. We get some insight into this religion from the cobbler Yim in Interlude 2 of Words of Radiance. Long ago, there was only one. One knew everything, but had experienced nothing. And so one became many. Us. People. The one, who is both male and female, did so to experience all things. The main idea of this religion is that one split into many people to gain new experiences. All of these experiences work to complete one. When people pass away, they then reunite with the one. In fact, it is believed that the beyond and the spiritual realm are the same thing, and along with their investiture, everyone's soul goes there when they die. In the end, each part of the one will be gathered back in the seventh land. Now, you might ask, what do you mean by the seventh land? Well, in that same interlude from Words of Radiance, Yim states that Roshar is the fourth land on the Long Trail. The Long Trail is a path that the Iriali were set on by One that involves 7 lands that they must visit. Upon arrival to the 7th land, all of the fragments will become one again. We actually get to see the Iriali leave Roshar in Interlude 11 of Winded Truth. Kusakesh opens a perpendicularity, well, maybe multiple perpendicularities since one appears in every major city in Erie, or is it just one perpendicularity that's split into multiple locations? Regardless, Dial's mother seems to think that this is Honor's gateway, and Demu grumbles about the perpendicularity acting strange. Back to Kusakesh. Some of the Iriali in the city of Kassator worship this strange giant Spren. Kusakesh appears from the ocean at the same time every day to stare at Roshar's origin. Most Iriali don't worship Kusakesh, and they just think of him as part of Kassator. We here at Lightcallers think that Kusakesh is a natural part of Roshar, but there are others that theorize that he travels with the Iriali from land to land. We're not going to go into that idea here, but you can check out our 4th moon video if you want to hear more about it. Now that the Iriali are headed to the 5th land out of 7, that means they must be close to finishing the Long Trail, right? Well, yes and no. Remember, the Iriali have been on Roshar for thousands of years. They built a culture and occupied an entire nation. Generations had passed before they left for the next land. The question then becomes, have we seen the Iriali on other planets? Brandon has stated in the past that the Iriali will be an important subplot in the future of the Cosmere. We do see a little of this start to play out on Lumar in Tress of the Emerald Sea. In Chapter 2, we learn about the Iriali from a cup in Tress's collection. Here's what her love interest Charlie had to say about it. "It's old Iriali," he said. "They vanished, you know. The entire people. Poof, there one day, gone the next. Their island left uninhabited." Now, that was 300 years ago. This is awesome. A direct reference to the Iriali on their path. Now the question is, does this happen before or after the Iriali go to Roshar? The answer is after, for a couple of reasons. We see the Khandra Ulam in this novel. This wouldn't be possible before Harmony released the Khandra to the greater Cosmere. And we know Mistborn Era 2 happens directly after Stormlight Era 1. So this would have to be the 5th or the 6th land on the Long Trail. It's likely not the 7th, as they would have become one and not left the planet. We like to believe that Lumar is the 6th world, which would mean that the Iriali completed the Long Trail 300 years before the events of Tress. Or they're in a 300-year traffic jam, meaning the 7th land is Los Angeles. So, if Lumar is the 6th land and Roshar is the 4th, then what do we think the 5th land could be? We actually get pretty striking evidence at the potential 5th land in the Lost Metal from A news reporter? Upon being found out by Wax & Co., Mariga Dolcet, editor-in-chief of a building broadsheet, asks Wax if he knows who killed Tobal. Tobal is unimportant. What is important is how she asks the question. You know who killed Tobal? Was it those people with the golden hair living on the east side? There's some kind of fairy creature. I know it. Yeah, this definitely sounds like an Iriali sighting. First of all, the description of golden hair matches the Iriali perfectly. Second of all, their golden skin and yellow eyes could give off a fairy appearance. Third, Wayne finds chowta, a Rosharan Iriali dish, while they're in Bilming. This heavily suggests that Rosharans made it into northern Scadrial by the events of Mistborn Era 2. If Scadrial was the land after Roshar, then this would all make a lot of sense. We find the best proof of this timeline in Tress of the Emerald Sea. In chapter 53, Sayla, the helmswoman, says, "Don't wake me up unless Death himself has shown up, nails in his eyes." This has got to be a reference to Marsh, the Inquisitor that became known as Death before the events of Mistborn Era 2. At the very least, Scadrian religion and culture has made its way to Lumar. Also, Ulam's presence in the story would make sense if he traveled to Lumar from Scadrial in the Iriali convoy. So yeah, our timeline shows that Roshar is the 4th land, Scadrial is the 5th land, and Lumar the 6th land. We don't have anything about the lands before Roshar, and we would be speculating at best if we were to talk about them. There are quite a few theories out there about the origin and purpose of the Iriali, but due to lack of canonical information, they're all highly speculative. We've linked some of our favorites in the description if you're curious. Now it's our turn to give a crackpot theory, so let's start with what we know. Right off the bat, this one connects pretty well to Adonalsium. First, we have the idea that long ago there was only one. It's a belief among some in the Cosmere that all things originated from Adonalsium, though the Aetherborn would argue against that. Either way, the Iriali beliefs fit well with this. Next up, the idea that one became many. We know that Adonalsium was a single entity before the Shattering, where he was divided into 16 separate intents. These shards of himself spread across the Cosmere with their vessels. One became many. The Shattering connection kind of falls apart after this. The Iriali say that one became people. He did so to experience the world. We do see Adonalsium create people on Ashen, Roshar, and Yolen, but none of these are really like the Iriali. I think the religion is heavily influenced by the events of the Shattering, but the origins of the Iriali is on a smaller scale than Big A himself. So what could this actually say for the Iriali? Maybe they were made by a shard. We get some serious hints at this possibility from a 2018 Words of Brandon. Thanks, Brandon. As the questioner asks Brandon if the Iriali have inhuman ancestry, he answers with this: depends on your definition of human. Most would say yes. So, the Iriali have inhuman ancestry that depends on perspective. The weird thing is how similar these potentially inhuman Iriali are to normal humans. They share the same features with some notable caveats. Also, remember that Scadrians were created to resemble Adonalsium's humans by ruin and preservation. They are extremely similar to normal humans, and I don't think that most would say that they have inhuman ancestry, but apparently the Iriali do. This reads like wacky investiture mechanics to me. This wouldn't be a Lightcallers video without a little bit of speculation, so it's crackpot theory time. The idea is, the Iriali were originally Devotion's Elantrians that were additionally invested by Dominion right before being splintered by Odium. Or heck, maybe they were invested by Dominion's intent after they were both splintered. That doesn't really matter. Regardless, they were sent on a wild quest by Dominion to 7 important lands in the Cosmere, with the hope of returning to Cell to reform the door into a new shard. They then left the city of Elantris empty for the future inhabitants of Aerilon to discover. Yeah, this theory is more speculative than usual, but bear with me, we're gonna have some fun. When we started thinking about what could have created the Iriali, we quickly thought of Cell. There is ample investiture in the cognitive realm there, the door, and it does really weird things. Also, the Elantrians have a unique skin tone, a metallic, silvery skin, maybe even fairy-like. This is peak Elantris, not Raoden's mini hell version of Elantris. And they have brilliant white hair. That breeds true. Back to our theory. What if when Devotion and Dominion were splintered, the people of Elantris were reformed by the door? This could have looked a lot like the Sheod. New skin, new hair, but this time something else. Dominion's influence. They are golden Elantrians. Devotion plus Dominion, just like the Golden Door. Dominion invested them with fortune and intent to go along with it. This allows for creatures like Kusakesh and maybe even Xyces to know when and where to take the Iriali, all to fulfill the intent of Dominion on Devotion's people, to reunite all under one, total Dominion. I find it hard to believe that the Iriali are going to reform Adonalsium before Tress takes place, but could they reform Dominion and Devotion? Maybe into something new. We have seen that their quest has been sponsored by some powerful entities deities in the Cosmere. It's gotta be more than just a hokey religion. It's important. So, what do you think? Do you hate it? It is pretty wild and speculative, and I think that's okay. There are some huge hints across the Cosmere that the Iriali are very important, and this is just our speculation on what that could be. Leave your questions and criticisms in the comments below. Also, subscribe if you want to see me recite the entirety of the Stormlight Archive from memory. Kolo?